RISE is part of a series of NIH initiatives that aim to diversify the people who do biomedical research. So RISE has been at NMSU, I think, about 30 years now, since the 70s. This is a program that is funded from NIGMS, NIH-NIGMS, and it is part of the Minority Biomedical Research Support Program. RISE's goal is to train the next generation of biomedical researchers and to ensure that that generation of biomedical researchers includes persons from groups underrepresented in the sciences. That would be Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, and African American students. As a scientist, we are still a human being, and our experiences bring to the table our perspectives. So, for example, it is not uncommon in biomedical research areas to have people say, I'm interested in cancer because someone I loved had cancer. If you're in a community where you see diabetes taking its toll, as it does in Native American communities and Hispanic American communities, that may be a question that will motivate you because you experience it. Scientists are not uncoupled, in my opinion, from their environment and from their experiences. Science is a way of thinking about the world that's evidential, but the questions that we ask as scientists come from our experience as human beings. I think science, I believe in the scientific method. I think that, unfortunately, not enough people completely understand what science is about, not just hypothesis testing, but the science is about the rule of evidence, that you acquire facts, that you debate, that you're able to confirm your findings. It's a method, it's an approach. But the questions that we ask are quite a different thing. Our questions come from who our teachers were, the tradition in which we were trained. Science is part of a cultural inheritance that all of us have. So for example, I'm a neuroscientist, and there is something called the neuro tree, which is a wonderful thing. I can go to the neuro tree, put my name in, my teachers are there, and I can quickly, through many generations, go back to Albertus Magnus. So I can trace my intellectual lineage. Sure. And what that means is that as a student of a teacher, which is how we get our PhDs, unlike medicine, unlike law, where you sit an exam, the achievement of a doctorate is through the initiation of a committee and through the patronage of a person who chooses you. It's very different than other professions. An individual has to agree to be your mentor, has to agree to be your teacher. And as is the case in all teacher-student relationships, it is about questions, but it's also about sharing an approach, a scientific method, a tradition of thinking. And so that also contributes to who we are as scientists. Sure. The method of science is one thing. The questions that we ask as scientists come from the experiences, and I think traditionally the questions that we ask come from what we are taught were the questions of our teachers and our cultural view.
Indeed.
Well, that's why I came to the conference. I would like to know the answer to that question, and I'm interested in other people's perspectives. And when you ask the rightful place, it begs the question, is there a wrongful place for science? But I think more to the point for me, it isn't so much that is there a rightful place, but what is the place for science in the 21st century? And what are the opportunities for young people and the public to participate in science? I'm very concerned that it seems to me that, in my experience, people fall into two groups. They're either convinced that science will save the world, or they're convinced that science is evil and will destroy the world. There doesn't seem to be a middle ground that reflects what I think practicing scientists understand, that scientists proceed by an inquiry-driven process, and that somewhere in between is where science lies. And I'm worried about the prevalence of what I call magical thinking, that the world is a magical place to the exclusion of science. And there isn't an understanding that science is part of a tradition that has brought us many very good things that have helped the people of the world. With regard to your question, the rightful place of science, I would like to see a lot of people asking that question. I would like to see people from the community participating. We just had a very nice reception. I would like to know what the people who were serving us, think about the rightful place of science. I don't think this is a conversation that only scientists should have.